Well, what do you know, Cuse fans? Looks as though new league, and already we're establishing ourselves as beasts in this new league. What a way we are opening our ACC schedule, especially against Virginia Tech, against North Carolina, and last night against Boston College. Virginia Tech was scrappy for a little while, but the Cuse showed how much talent they got, how much more talented they were than a bunch of Hokies. Of course, you have to ask, what's a Hokie? Well, of course, you look at ESPNU, you kind of see it may be a kind of turkey. Interesting. Well, good win against Virginia Tech, but then North Carolina, who is expected to become one of our big rivals in our arrival into the ACC, they were game there for the first little bit of the game, but then it just seemed as though they have no confidence, no good shooters. Roy Williams has got to do something about that, and you figure with all the great career he's had and all the great teams, you figure Roy Williams would have done something. As it was, the Tar Heels were no match for the Orange. A pretty easy and decent win against North Carolina in the Dome. Nice way to open up against a team who was supposed to become one of our big rivals. But last night, a little scare was thrown into us by our old friends from the Big East. It was the first time in 9 years Syracuse and Boston College faced off on the hard court, and boy, it just seemed as though that great old rivalry picked up where it left off. The last time they played, GMAC was playing, but the thing is, Boston College had a little too much for Syracuse. And last night, Boston College ran out to an 8-point lead on the Orange in the second half. But lo and behold, we scratched and clawed our way back into it. And also, we showed the Eagles we got a lot more talent right now. And also, who knew that a Caucasian could really dunk? But did anybody see Trevor Cooney last night? He showed on a lot of those steals he could run up and he could dunk the ball pretty good. But what a game it was for Cooney to break out of the little funk that he was in. Of course, his first few games in the ACC, he was only hitting 25% from beyond the arc. But Cooney broke out in a big way, not only hitting threes, but also dunking the ball. What a game there, and he helped lead the Cuse to a 69-59 win over a bunch of scrappy Eagles. But of course, it was just the appetizer, because guess who's next? It's Pitt, our old friends from the Big East, who followed us into the ACC, and it may be hard-pressed for us to continue this unbeaten streak against Pitt. For the third time in 4 years, Syracuse is 17-0, but who knows? Maybe we could run through this season undefeated, although that's highly unlikely in some ways, but who knows? Pitt is going to be a big challenge for the Cuse coming up. And you got to wonder, sooner or later, I don't want to really say it, but you got to wonder when that first loss is going to come. Hopefully it's not going to be this Saturday against our old friends, the Panthers. Although I will say, at times in the past few seasons, Pitt has had the Cuse's number. But right now, we've established ourselves as new beasts in the ACC. Nice way to start our first season in the new league. 17-0 and keep it going. And I'm going to switch from the good to a little bit of the ugly. This past week, two of the biggest yutzes there is in football got new jobs. First, good old Bobby Petrino. Who still believes in this guy? This guy's morals is bankrupt, and I will say, I just don't understand his thinking sometimes. He says, "Oh, I'm going to be here for quite a while. I want to help build this program." only to sneak around and make a deal with a new team. I mean, he's done that several times. When he was an assistant coach with Jacksonville, the first time he was coach for Louisville, especially after leading them to a 41-9 record, then signing that 10-year, $25 million contract, saying that he's going to be leading Louisville into the future, and then he goes and makes a behind-the-back deal with the Atlanta Falcons. And of course, when he's with Atlanta, it was the year of that whole spiel with Michael Vick. And then he realizes he's in over his head, resigns 3 games from the end when Atlanta was 3-10, doesn't have the guts to face his team by leaving them a laminated note on each of their lockers saying, "I'm sorry, but I gotta do what I gotta do. I gotta do this thing." And then 24 hours later, he's singing Hog Suey by going to Arkansas. Leads Arkansas to the brink of being national title contenders. And then that whole spiel with him cheating on his wife when he gets in that motorcycle accident with his mistress. And he decides to lie about it to both the NCAA and Arkansas. And I mean, last year, after about a year saying, "Oh, I'm a changed man," he goes to Western Kentucky, that leads them to an 8-4 record. And of course he says, "I'm going to be here a while," and then makes another backdoor deal to become coach of Louisville again. Who can trust this guy? His morals are bankrupt. And you know what? Yeah, if he came to me, say I was an AD and he wanted a job, you know what I'd say? "Hey, Mr. Petrino, meet Mr. Frying Pan." "You go to hell, you son of a bitch." And also Lane Kiffen, another one whose morals are bankrupt, who always seems to leave a mess in his wake. After that whole spiel with him at Tennessee and also at USC, Alabama decides to bring him on as offensive coordinator. You know, it just really bothers me how people like Lane Kiffen and Bobby Petrino, with all the bankrupt morals and all their questionable antics and everything, can still get high-profile jobs. And people like me and others struggle to find competent employment. I just don't understand it. I mean, that's all I am. I'm speechless. People like them seem to keep landing jobs with all their bankrupt ideas, and me and others can't seem to do well. Oh well, I guess that's the way the ball bounces. And I do have to say, that was a nice little interview in the Finger Lakes Times with our chief of police, Stuart Peenstra, who's been the chief of police for 2 years here for the town of Seneca Falls. He's been a competent leader and a good officer to lead this department, and I hope he continues to lead this department for good things into the future. And you know what? He's definitely a guy that people can look up to. Literally. No wonder I still have a good crick in my neck. There, everything's all set. And last but not least, I wonder what this whole thing about with the new mayor of New York City. He goes into a pizzeria, gets a pizza with his aides, and the thing is, the media is all on him about the way he eats his pizza. Of course, a true New Yorker would fold the piece in half and also munch on it. But you see him using a fork and a knife to cut his pizza. And boy, the uproar really sounded. He's not a true New Yorker. He used silverware. Well, you know, he can't act like a Neanderthal or a Cro-Magnon in ways to eat his pizza. He's in a higher-up office, one of the most important offices in the United States of America. You know, he's got to show some manners and some decency and some decorum sometime. You know, not everybody can eat like a Cro-Magnon, although I still do sometimes. I'm Ken Haas, and that's my spiel. if that's the word of the day for it this week.